Hey everybody, Paul Brecht with HSRN back with you for another installment of our OIA to College Athlete Series, and got another fun one for you guys today. Joining me now on the Hawai'i Sports Radio Network, someone who started her college career behind the dish before proving she was capable of so much more. A 2019 graduate of Waianae and fifth-year senior at Chaminade, Silver Swords Swiss Army knife, Kailah Gates-Coyaso. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Excited for this conversation here today. Before we get going, wanted to give some fun facts about you to the beautiful people listening on in who may not be as familiar with your career accomplishments quite yet. Kailah is 7th in career runners caught stealing for Chaminade softball catchers, which is really impressive considering you are a part-time catcher, kind of playing all over the field. You've played 7 of the 9 positions on the field in your time suiting up for the Silver Swords. Pardon me. This past season, as an all-Pac West second team selection at Utility, you spent about half the year in right field, 21 games, 13 behind the dish, and then 6 different spots filled in throughout the season. You're a 3-time academic all-Pac West selection, a 2-time NFCA scholar athlete. He did hit a career high 243 this past season and had 96% fielding percentage. You do have a major we'll get into a little bit later and what you want to do with that. You hit 301 in your high school senior season and ended up helping Waianae to a consolation state championship, winning both games after an opening round loss to the eventual champion Iolani. And lastly, and maybe my favorite thing, and we're going to start with it, found out you can juggle. So I wanted to jump in right there. How did that come to be? Who taught you how to juggle? Why do you know how to juggle? Take us through that part of it.
I kind of taught myself how to juggle at practice. When there was like downtime, I would just throw up balls in the air. And I was like, wow, I can do this. And I just started doing it, impressed my teammates. And then I would later challenge my teammates to see if I can juggle faster or juggle longer. But it was only me that could juggle. So
when did this first come? When did you first start this challenge? Was this like a high school thing?
I think it was like a high school thing. It was a high school thing for sure.
Did you carry that over into college? Have you challenged some of your softball teammates now at Chaminade to go head to head juggling?
Once in a while at practice, you can see me juggling. I can juggle like different objects at the same time, but I think no one on the team can juggle, so I never really had a competition.
What's the strangest thing you've been able to juggle so far, or the most difficult thing? Because
I juggle a softball, a wiffle ball, and a baseball all at the same time, so like different sizes.
Yeah, different sizes and different weights. I feel like that's fun. Do you feel like juggling helps you at all as a softball player, like hand-eye coordination or anything along those?
I think it plays a big role in my hand-eye coordination for sure. Yeah.
All righty. Well, I just mentioned softball. I want to get into it. How did you come to play the sport in the first place? Did you play other sports growing up? I've chatted with a few other softball players who talked about their experience playing baseball actually first. Do you have any similar experiences?
I think I first got introduced as soon as I could walk. I think I didn't have no Barbie dolls or like anything toys. I had a baseball and a glove. And then my dad would take me in the backyard to practice with me for hours doing reps, hitting, fielding, throwing. But I never really started playing baseball until I was 10. So I didn't do T-ball. I didn't do coach pitch. I went straight into the boys league, played baseball. I played baseball for 4 years before I transitioned to softball. But I think baseball helped me with my competitiveness. It like made me push myself because I was on a team full of boys. And in order to play, I would have to show what I can do and outbeat these boys.
I gotta imagine that as a kid, it can be a sink or swim kind of feeling. You got it or you don't. As you transitioned into softball, did you find that softball was more difficult? Was it easier? Like, how was your transition into softball from baseball after playing for a few years?
I was really hesitant to play softball because I didn't know like the difference. But after finding my first outside league team, it was really easy to transfer from the baseball side to the softball side. I think the hardest part was probably the size difference of the ball. But other than that, everything was the same, and I think it was pretty much easier.
Now, were you always a utility player, or is that something that kind of has come to be as you got into your college career?
Playing baseball, I started off as a second baseman. And then for softball, I also started off as a second baseman. I pretty much played second base my whole, like for maybe like 3 years until I hit like middle school. And then I started to go into shortstop. And then when I went to high school, I played second base for the first 2 years. And then my high school team realized that we don't really have a catcher. So I was like, I'll teach myself how to catch. I do anything for a team. So I watched like YouTube videos of how to start catching. And I started catching, and then I became starting catcher at Waianae for my junior and senior year.
So I'll ask this then. What's your favorite position to play on the softball field, being that you do have experience playing a bunch and you didn't really start as a catcher, but you've certainly made your mark behind the dish?
I think I enjoy every position that I am able to get people out. I just want to be making plays. I want to be in charge, and I just like to have the ball at all times.
So does that mean it sounds like you prefer to play defense than hit? Would that be fair to say?
I'm a very defensive player. I love playing defense.
Understandable. All right, let's talk a little bit. I mentioned it at the start. This is a series about OIA or former OIA athletes who have transitioned now to the college game and been successful. Looking back at your time at Waianae, how did they help you both athletically and academically in your preparation to go to the next level and be so successful?
Waianae helped me academically and athletically because they were so disciplined. My coaches at Waianae made sure we went to class every day, made sure we was on top of our grades, made sure that we had study hall, made sure that we did our homework before we even stepped on the field. And I feel like at Waianae, there's a lot of help to do, like for college athletes. So like if you're going to college, they will make sure you're on the right path, set you up for SAT, ACT, set you up for applications, just talk to the counselors, and that really helped.
It sounds helpful. Just a really good support system and base to fall back on. In a similar vein, but kind of the opposite way, going to a public school, sometimes you can face some difficulties. There can be a lack of resources. There can be some things that aren't necessarily going your way. Did you ever feel that way at Waianae? Did you ever feel as though you had to make ends meet, or your team had to make ends meet? Things were a bit different, or were there not really things that you noticed?
I feel like there wasn't really anything that stuck out to me. I feel like we was given the opportunity to play, and that's all we wanted. And then I feel like our coaches provided a very supportive background to make sure that we had everything we needed to succeed.
And successful you guys were. I mentioned it. Had a nice run your senior season there, and that kind of led into a college career. And obviously now you're at Chaminade. You've spent your career at Chaminade. Did you consider going to the mainland for college, or was it always going to be staying home? And can you take us through the recruiting process? How did you come to end up being a Chaminade Silver Sword?
I had numerous offers in the mainland. I was actually committed to Washington School before I decommitted and went to Chaminade. But I feel like in the mainland, I was really excited to like go away and experience new life out of Oahu. But I counted I talked to my family, and they was like, it's up to you, whatever you want to do, we'll support you. But then Coach Kent reached out to me and offered me the opportunity to play at Chaminade. I looked into the school, and I really fell in love with the way the school ran and the academics and the athletics. And I just feel like Coach Kent made it really easy for me to have a decision made.
And it sounds as though you're pretty happy with your decision. What's it been like being able to be home, having that local support, and being able to see friends and family that you've seen growing up still? Have you felt that as a benefit throughout your college career?
I feel like staying home really allowed me to showcase my talent to the people that I love and to the people that I care. To know that I can always come home and then be there for my people, like just in case anything was to happen. I'm like not that far away. And I feel like Chaminade itself is like a it's like a family environment. Like we're always also close, and we always feel like families first, and we always take care of each other. And I feel like staying home really allowed me to like showcase that I care for my people, and to give the girls in high school right now an opportunity to be like, oh, I can stay home and still be successful as if I went to the mainland.
I think it's a pretty awesome journey you've been on thus far. And with that journey, you've been able to experience a lot of stuff at the college level. Obviously, the COVID-19 pandemic kind of throwing off some seasons for a lot of people.
Definitely.
What was it like going through that, living through that, especially because that was so early on in your college career, your transition to this higher level, both academically and athletically? Can you think back to that time, and what was it like going through that as a young college student athlete?
I think we found out that our season got canceled the day before we was leaving to go to California for my first road trip. So we were like devastated, but there's nothing you can really do. So we just sat back. We took in what was happening around the world. And then in my head, I was like, okay, this just gives me the opportunity to work better, work harder to get better for when we possibly can get a real season back. So I just use that time to focus on myself, focus on my academics, focus on my family, focus on getting better, getting better, getting bigger, and then just waiting till we can finally play again.
And finally play again, you guys have done. And you've played more and more as the years go on, played in every game this past season, started in all but I think 2 or 3. And that's kind of been the trend ever since that time. What's it been like as you've grown into more of a leader on this team? How have you felt yourself grow, not just as an athlete, but as a leader?
I feel like finally being like a senior these past 2 years has allowed me to really be a role model to the freshmen, to the lower class. So I feel like I've been just doing what I have to do to be a great role model for the team that's gonna take over when I leave.
And then I mentioned being a student athlete. I mentioned at the top you do have a major, your business
Yeah.
administration major, I believe, or were. Perhaps you have a degree now. I know the 5th year kind of throws everything off. Can you tell the beautiful people about kind of what you want to do with that major and what got you interested in that career path in the first place?
So yeah, I'm gonna be a business major with 3 minors in accounting, computer systems, and history. So with that, I think my main focus is to give back to my community after. I just want to give my knowledge to them, both businessly and softball. So I would like to give back to my community in every way I can.
Is there a way you've thought about trying to combine the two college paths, I'll call them, in terms of your business administration and softball? Have you had any opportunities to kind of see the two mix?
I feel like I thought about like giving opportunity to the kids who of the less fortunate, so like giving an opportunity to play sports, giving an opportunity to get the right equipment that they need to succeed. Because I feel like in this world everything's so expensive, and I feel like there's a lot of restrictions of kids playing sports just because they don't have the funds to do it. And I don't think that should be a reason why they can't play the sport that they desire to play.
I think that's very selfless, and I think it's important to have people like that and goals like that. I think it's very cool that that's kind of your mindset. Uh, you talk about the kids. I have 2 more questions for you. Uh, I don't want to call you a kid, but let's go back to, high school, graduating high school. If you could go back to that version of Kailah, that kid version, and just tell her, have a minute conversation with her, is there anything you'd want to tell her going forward on what to expect over the next 5 years?
I think I would tell her just trust the process. Everything happens for a reason. And then know your worth and know what you have to do to make yourself better and the people around you better.
I think that's great advice. All right. Last question. Then I promise, you've been so gracious with your time. Thank you so much. Last question. I promise I'll let you go. Before we go, are there any teachers? Is there any staff, anyone back at Waianae that you want to just give a quick shout out to someone who helped you out along the way, or multiple people who helped you out along the way, getting you to the point where you are now?
I think I can shout out the whole Waianae community. They was always there for us every game, no matter win or lose. They was always there to support us, always there to give us kind words, give us motivation to go out there and have fun. My whole Waianae community is the reason why I'm the person I am today.
You've talked about it here on Hawai'i Sports Radio Network before. It takes a village, takes an entire community to raise people up and raise successful people. And it's exactly what happened there in Waianae with Chaminade, Silver Swords, Swiss Army Knife, the utility player, second team All-Pac West, Kailah Gates-Coyaso. Once again, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.